The small human freighter Aurora's path moved through the cold silence of deep space. Its white hull reflected the pale light of distant stars, making it look almost ghostly against the black background. The ship was not large or powerful. It was designed for cargo runs, hauling goods between human colonies, yet for Captain Mira, it was home. She had flown this vessel for 5 years, and every corner of it felt familiar. Inside the control room, Mira sat in the pilot's chair, her eyes moving between glowing screens. Her hands rested on the flight controls in a relaxed way, but her mind stayed alert. Space could be calm for days, then dangerous in a heartbeat. She knew that well. The route she was taking was quiet, far from major trade lanes. It was the kind of path captains chose when they wanted to avoid traffic or attention. Mira had a shipment of medical supplies bound for a small research station orbiting a frozen moon. The work was routine. She had no reason to expect trouble. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the cabin. A soft vibration passed through the floor, a sign the propulsion systems were running smoothly. The stars outside drifted slowly by as the Aurora's path kept its steady pace. Mira leaned back and took a sip from her metal cup of warm tea. She liked these long stretches between stops. Out here, it was just her ship. In the endless universe, no noise, no demands, no arguments. Only the deep, patient voice of the stars. A small green light flashed on her main sensor screen. She frowned. The ship's long-range scanner had detected something. A reading had appeared in an area where nothing should have been. She tapped the console to bring the image into focus. The sensor showed a faint but steady energy signature. It was not any human design she recognized. The frequency was different, more erratic, almost like a heartbeat that did not belong to anything alive. She adjusted the sensors to scan deeper. The signature grew stronger. Unregistered contact, the ship's AI reported in a calm voice. The AI was basic, nothing more than an assistant to help with navigation and system checks. Still, Mira trusted its readings. She checked the star map again. This sector was supposed to be empty for several light years in every direction. The closest station was far behind her, and the nearest planet was nothing more than an icy rock with no atmosphere. The signature pulsed. Again, this time, it shifted position slightly. Mira's brow tightened. That was no drifting debris or lost probe. It was moving with purpose. She ran a quick analysis. The object's size was large, far larger than her freighter. Its energy output suggested a power source more advanced than standard human ships. She felt a knot form in her stomach. Out of habit, she reached for the ship's communication panel and began broadcasting an identification ping. Any peaceful vessel would respond, confirming its origin and intentions. She waited. The only reply was silence. The Aurora's path continued forward, but Mira's attention stayed fixed on the growing signal. The contact was closing the distance. Faster than she liked. She considered altering course to avoid it, but part of her hesitated. She had heard stories from other captains about strange signals in deep space. Most turned out to be nothing. Still, the unease in her chest did not fade. She knew that if the object was a pirate vessel, turning away now might draw more attention. Pirates sometimes attacked the moment they sensed fear. She kept her course steady and her speed constant, hoping to appear calm. Meanwhile, she began quietly running the ship's defensive checks. Her freighter was not built for combat, but it had a few tools for protection: electronic countermeasures, reinforced hull plating, and a short-range plasma cutter meant for mining. Minutes passed. The contact grew closer, now large enough to show a blurry outline on the secondary display. Its shape was strange. It had no smooth curves like human ships, only sharp edges and long, angled wings that stretched like the limbs of some mechanical insect. Mira's grip on the controls tightened. She did not recognize the design from any known human or allied fleets. She whispered to herself, "That's no traitor." The first faint shudder came as the alien vessel released a burst of graviton beams. The beams locked onto her ship like invisible chains. The Aurora's path slowed instantly. Caught in the pull, her speed dropped by half before she could even react. Her heart pounded, but she kept her hands steady. She opened a wide-frequency broadcast. Unidentified vessel. This is the human freighter Aurora's path. I am a civilian transport carrying medical supplies. Identify yourself and state your intentions. No response came. Instead, the graviton beams tightened. Her ship's engine strained as warning lights began to blink across the console. She checked the external view and saw the alien ship fully now. It was massive. Its hull layered in overlapping armor plates that reflected no light. The design seemed built for intimidation and defense. Then came the second sign of trouble. Her scanner picked up multiple smaller craft detaching from the alien cruiser. They moved in tight formation, heading directly for her. Their speed was quick, their path precise. Boarding craft, Mira's mind raced. She had no idea what these aliens wanted, but their behavior left little doubt they meant to capture her ship. She considered her options. She could try to break free, but the graviton beams were too strong for her engines. She could surrender, but there was no telling what fate would follow. Or she could resist, knowing the odds were against her. Her gaze shifted to a small, lock control panel to her right. It was marked with a yellow stripe restricted systems. These were the ship's experimental defenses, salvaged from a retired military vessel. She had never needed to use them before. The AI had warned her they were unpredictable, even dangerous to the crew. The smaller craft were minutes away from docking. Mira's fingers hovered over the yellow stripe panel. She took a breath and thought about the research station waiting for her cargo. She thought about the human colonies depending on supply ships like hers. If she was going to survive, she could not simply wait for these intruders to take her ship. Her eyes hardened. The time for quiet travel had ended. She unlocked the panel. The yellow stripe panel slid open with a faint click. Inside were 3 switches and a small keypad with glowing numbers. Captain Mira had only glanced at this system during routine checks, never truly thinking she would use it. Now, it felt like the only chance she had. She entered a short code and heard the sound of power relays coming alive beneath the ship's floor. The air in the control room seemed to hum with new energy. The Aurora's path was no longer just a cargo freighter. Hidden deep in its frame were systems designed for military operations, systems the average pirate or alien would never expect. The AI's voice came through, steady and calm. Experimental defense module activated. Warning: full control of interior environment and structural configurations will be engaged. Crew safety may be affected. Mira glanced around the empty control room. Crew safety was not her worry. She was the only one aboard. She gave the command anyway. Activate all defensive protocols. The AI acknowledged and began its work. Lights across the ship dimmed for a moment, then brightened again, somewhere deep inside. Mechanical arms shifted bulkheads. Floor panels locked into new positions. The ship was becoming a trap. Outside, the alien boarding craft drew closer from her main display. Mira counted 4 of them. Each was shaped like a claw, with sharp points at the front and engines glowing a deep green at the rear. They moved in silence, but their intent was obvious. She opened the comms one last time. Speaking clearly, unidentified vessel, turn away. You are attempting to board a registered human transport. This action is hostile. The only reply came in the form of a sudden jolt. The graviton beams from the alien cruiser tightened even more, slowing her ship almost to a stop. Then the first boarding craft latched onto her hull with a heavy metallic impact. The sound echoed faintly through the walls. 3 more followed, within seconds, attaching at different points along the Aurora's path. Mira took a deep breath and switched her view to the internal cameras. She saw metal cylinders extending from the alien craft. To her airlocks, sparks flashed as cutting tools began to carve through the thick doors. The AI marked each intrusion point in bright red. Boarding breach in 90 seconds. The AI reported. Mira's fingers moved across the console. She rerouted the interior lighting to emergency mode, plunging the corridors into a dim red glow. She shut down gravity in certain sections, knowing it would confuse anyone unfamiliar with her ship's layout. She also instructed the AI to start shifting wall panels to create false corridors. This was not a fight she could win with firepower. it would be one with confusion and time. The first breach came on the starboard side. The airlock door fell inward, and 3 alien soldiers stepped through. They were tall, their armor a dull bronze color that reflected the red emergency lights in thin lines. Their helmets had no visible eye openings, only a black, smooth front with faint ridges. They carried long weapons that seemed to hum faintly. They moved in formation, weapons raised, scanning the hall. The ship's layout appeared simple at first, but within moments the AI sealed a bulkhead behind them and opened a side passage. That had not been there before. The aliens hesitated for a second, then pressed forward. The side passage seemed to lead toward the control room, but in truth, it curved back toward the cargo bay. On another camera feed, Mira saw the second breach. For more aliens entered from the port side, moving in the same precise formation. These ones advanced faster, clearly trained for boarding actions. They reached a junction where the AI flickered the lights twice, then shut them off completely. For 3 seconds, when the lights returned, the corridor ahead of them was blocked by a sealed hatch, forcing them to turn right straight into a maintenance shaft with no exit. Mira felt a strange calm settle over her. She was badly outnumbered, but the Aurora's path was no longer a helpless freighter. It was a shifting maze, and she knew every corner of it. The AI spoke again. Third breach in aft section. Intruders detected in engineering. That one concerned her most. If the aliens gained control of engineering, they could override her ship's systems. She quickly locked down that section, sealing bulkheads and venting harmless but dense vapor into the halls. The vapor clung to the air, turning the space into a fog, where visibility dropped to almost nothing. On the feed, she watched as the engineering team of aliens stopped, scanning with their weapons, but unable to see more than a few steps ahead. They moved slower now, checking every corner, unsure where to go. Meanwhile, the alien commander aboard the cruiser was growing impatient. From the few intercepted transmissions the AI managed to pick up, Mira understood that they had expected her to surrender quickly. The boarding should have been over by now. Instead, their soldiers were wandering a ship that seemed to shift and twist like a living thing. One alien soldier from the first breach reached for a wall panel, perhaps to plant a tracking beacon. The moment his hand touched the surface, the panel slid back, revealing a narrow passageway. A strong magnetic pulse surged through it, pulling the soldier forward and locking his weapon to the wall. The AI immediately sealed the opening, trapping the soldier inside. Mira leaned closer to her screen. That was one less to worry about. The aliens began to adapt, splitting into pairs and mapping their surroundings with small drones. But the AI responded faster, feeding false readings to the drones. Rooms appeared larger or smaller than they were. Corridors ended abruptly in sealed doors that seemed to have no controls. The tension in the control room was thick, but Mira stayed focused. She kept one eye on the external view, where the alien cruiser still loomed. Its dark hull seemed almost patient, like a predator waiting for its prey to weaken. She knew they might decide to simply destroy her ship if boarding failed. That thought pressed at the edge of her mind, but she pushed it away. The fourth and final boarding craft had docked near the main cargo bay. The aliens there used a different tactic, cutting through the hull itself instead of the airlock. The circular section of her ship's wall glowed red, then fell inward with a loud clang. 6 armored figures stepped through, their weapons scanning. This time, Mira took direct control of the defenses in that area. She sealed the cargo bay doors, then activated the gravity control to increase pull by 3 times normal. The aliens staggered, their heavy armor weighing them down. The AI followed with a sudden blast of bright light from overhead panels, forcing them to shield their eyes. One stumbled forward into a loading platform that immediately rose toward the ceiling. The platform locked in place, stranding the alien high above the bay floor. The others tried to move toward him, but every few steps another obstacle appeared, rising barriers, shifting floor plates, and sudden bursts of harmless but blinding steam. In the control room, Mira's lips pressed into a thin line. This was working, but she could not keep it up forever. The aliens would find a way to adapt or break through. She needed to turn this confusion into an escape. She checked the graviton beam status. The pull was still strong, but the AI reported slight fluctuations in the field strength. That was a small opening. If she could push her engines at the right moment, she might break free. The challenge was buying enough time for that moment to come. The alien commander's voice crackled faintly over intercepted comms again. The translation was rough, but the tone was sharp and impatient. Orders were being given, and the boarding teams were being told to speed up. Mira's eyes narrowed. If they wanted to rush, she would give them more surprises than they could handle. The alien soldiers moved cautiously through the Aurora's path. They had expected an easy victory, a simple capture of a lone human ship. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a confusing and shifting maze. The walls of the ship seemed to change before their eyes, corridors opening and closing without warning. Commander Vell's voice crackled in their helmets. Keep formation. Report every change. Do not engage unless necessary. But the soldiers were already losing their calm. The lack of familiar landmarks made navigation difficult. Some corridors looped back to where they started. Others ended abruptly in sealed bulkheads. The AI inside the ship seemed to know their every move. One soldier, tall and cautious, raised his weapon and aimed down a hallway that suddenly became darker. He took a step forward and the floor beneath him tilted sharply, causing him to lose his balance. His helmet display flashed a warning. Environmental hazard detected. He called out, "Commander, the ship is changing. I don't understand how this is possible." Vell's reply was sharp, but there was a hint of concern. The humans use adaptive technology. Be alert. We cannot afford to be trapped. Meanwhile, Captain Mira watched the feeds from the control room. She felt a mixture of determination and caution. The AI had done its job well, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens found a way to break free. She adjusted the controls to activate another system, a series of electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt alien technology. The pulses would temporarily disable the aliens' helmets and weapons. It was risky, because the pulses also affected her ship's sensors, but it was a gamble she had to take. As the first group of aliens rounded a corner, the pulse triggered. Their helmets flickered and their weapons powered down for a few seconds. They staggered, confused and vulnerable. Mira saw an opening and sent a short burst of compressed air to push the soldiers back. It was not a weapon, but enough to disorient them. The aliens quickly recovered and formed a defensive circle, but their advance had slowed. On the other side of the ship, the engineering team was still struggling in the fog. The thick vapor made it almost impossible to see, and the aliens moved slowly, weapons raised but uncertain. One slipped and nearly fell into an open maintenance shaft. Careful, Vale warned. Don't let the ship's environment be your enemy. But the fog seemed alive, swirling and shifting as if it had a mind of its own. The AI was controlling every breath they took, every step they made. Back in the cargo bay, the aliens were still trapped on the raised platform. They called for help, but the barriers and obstacles forced their teammates to slow down. The Aurora's path was not a large ship, but it felt like a fortress designed to keep enemies out. Mira felt a rush of pride. She was a small captain on a simple freighter, but right now, she was holding her own against a force much stronger than hers. Her thoughts turned to her family back on Earth. She remembered her brother's words, "Humans survive because we never give up. We adapt. We fight with everything we have." She whispered to herself, "That is exactly what I'm doing." Suddenly, an alarm blared. The AI's voice was urgent, warning. External graviton beam strength is decreasing. Possible shield failure. In 5 minutes, Mira's heart skipped a beat. The alien cruiser must be losing patience. If their main weapon failed, they could try a full attack to destroy her ship. She had to act fast. She called up the ship's navigation controls. If she could break free from the beams, she might escape before the aliens regained control. But the engines were strained from the constant pull. She pushed them harder, feeling the heat rising. The ship shuddered and a low warning tone sounded. The AI reported engine temperature rising. Overload imminent. Mira clenched her fists. She had to hold on a little longer. On the alien cruiser, Commander Vale watched the failing beams with growing anger. Send reinforcements. Disable that ship at any cost. The boarding teams received new orders to speed up their search. Some began to try force against the bulkheads, hoping to break the AI's traps. But the more they forced, the more the ship seemed to resist. One alien team stumbled into a corridor that suddenly tilted and twisted. The walls closed in, and the floor shifted beneath them. Their comms went silent. Mira saw the feed and held her breath. After tense moments, the team sent a brief distress signal before losing contact. Good, Mira said quietly. One less. She knew this battle was far from over, but the tide was turning. The aliens had underestimated a lone human ship, thinking it weak and easy prey. They were learning that humans were different. As the Aurora's path continued to twist and shift around her enemies, Mira prepared for the next move. The ship was alive, and it would fight with her until the very end. Captain Mira's hands moved quickly over the controls as the Aurora's path shifted its internal layout. Once again, the ship's walls slid and bulkheads moved, creating new paths and closing old ones. Every step the alien soldiers took, the ship responded. The corridors became confusing and strange. Some hallways suddenly narrowed so much the tall aliens had to squeeze through carefully. Others became wider, but filled with low-gravity zones. That made their movements slow and awkward. The AI announced in its calm voice. New environmental adjustments activated. All corridors now equipped with variable gravity control and electromagnetic pulses on standby. Outside, the alien cruiser was still holding the Aurora's path with its graviton beams. But the field was weakening. Mira could see the alien commander's frustration growing with every failed boarding attempt inside the ship. The alien soldiers were becoming desperate. They tried to move in small groups, hoping to avoid the traps, but the ship's defenses anticipated their plans. Walls closed behind them, sealing escape routes. Floors shifted suddenly beneath their feet. One group entered what looked like the crew quarters, but as soon as they stepped inside, the doors sealed tightly. The air pressure dropped slightly, enough to make breathing harder, but still safe for Mira. The aliens gasped and adjusted their helmets to compensate, but the discomfort slowed them down. Mira watched the monitors and smiled quietly. She knew they were starting to lose their confidence. In the engineering section, the fog remained thick and difficult. The aliens moved slowly, their weapons scanning in every direction. Suddenly, one of the soldiers slipped and dropped a small device. It hit the floor and emitted a high-pitched sound that echoed in the confined space. The other soldiers stopped and looked around, tense and alert. Mira knew that sound might give away their position. She activated a low-frequency pulse to interfere with their sensors. The aliens' helmets began to glitch and flicker. Keep moving, Vel's voice ordered. We cannot lose this ship. Suddenly, the lights in the foggy corridors shut off completely. The aliens stumbled in darkness, their weapons useless without power. The fog around them glowed faintly now with phosphorescent particles from the ship's atmosphere control. It gave just enough light for Mira to see their shapes on the cameras, but not enough for the aliens to see clearly. Elsewhere, the cargo bay remained a trap. The aliens there fought to escape the rising platforms and shifting barriers. One soldier tried to jump from a platform to the floor, but miscalculated, and fell into a shallow pit that quickly filled with a harmless gel. The gel slowed his movements and stuck to his armor. Mira activated a voice message that echoed throughout the cargo bay, but distorted to sound like the growl of a large creature. The soldiers froze, looking around nervously. They knew this was a trick, but the sound was enough to unsettle even the most disciplined. Back in the control room, Mira felt her energy begin to drain, but she pushed herself harder. She checked the status of the engines and saw they were still under strain, but holding. The alien cruiser's graviton beam began to flicker and pulse unevenly. The AI detected instability in the field and sent warnings. Captain, the enemy's beam may fail within 2 minutes. It said. Mira saw her chance. She adjusted the power settings and prepared to push the engines to full throttle. If she timed it right, she could break free from the beam's hold and escape into open space. The alien commander shouted orders to his teams to hurry. Some soldiers tried to force their way through sealed bulkheads using explosives. Others split up, searching for any path out. One pair of aliens stumbled into a room that appeared empty. Suddenly, the floor dropped beneath them, sliding down into a narrow shaft. The walls closed behind them, trapping them inside. Their comms went silent. Mira watched this on her screen and felt a rush of hope. Her ship was not just a freighter. It was a fortress, and she was its guardian. Suddenly, a message interrupted her thoughts. Captain, incoming transmission from alien cruiser, requesting immediate ceasefire and surrender. Mira frowned. She had expected them to fight to the end, but this was different. The aliens were not just struggling. They were afraid. She replied calmly, "This is Captain Mira of the Aurora's Path. I am not surrendering. Leave my ship or face destruction." The transmission ended. For a moment, there was silence. Then the graviton beams around her ship flickered violently and collapsed with a roar. The engines flared and the Aurora's Path shot forward, breaking free of the alien hold. The ship surged into open space, leaving the alien cruiser behind. Mira allowed herself a brief smile. The battle was won for now, but she knew the war was far from over. The stars stretched ahead, full of danger and promise, and Captain Mira was ready. The Aurora's Path glided through the endless black of space, stars shining like distant fires. Captain Mira sat in the control room, her hands still gripping the console from the effort to break free. The ship's engines hummed steadily now, no longer straining against the alien beams. Though the battle was over, Mira's mind raced. The aliens had retreated, but she knew they would come back. She needed to prepare. The fight had shown her how dangerous they were and how smart. But she also knew the strength of humans. The AI spoke softly. Damage assessment complete. Minor hull breaches in cargo bay and engineering. No critical systems compromised. Life support operating normally. Mira nodded, relieved. Good. Begin repairs on the cargo bay. Prioritize sealing those breaches. I responded. Repairs underway. Estimated completion in 30 minutes. Mira looked out into space. Her ship was small, but it carried more than cargo. It held her hope, her courage, and the future of many. She thought of the people back home, waiting for her return. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a new signal, a faint, fast-moving object approaching rapidly. Mira's heart quickened. Was it another alien ship? Identify the object, she ordered. The AI processed the data. A known vessel approaching at high speed. No known signature matches. Mira activated the external cameras on the screen. A sleek ship appeared, much smaller than the alien cruiser, but fast and agile. It moved like a shadow, silent and deadly. Open a channel, Mira said. There was no reply. The ship kept closing distance, and Mira realized it was preparing to board again. The Aurora's Path's defenses automatically powered up. Shields brightened around the hull and internal systems locked down. Mira's mind raced. The first alien attack had tested her ship's strength. This new threat was different, faster. Smarter. She studied the incoming ship's movements. It circled. Looking for a weak point, the AI began scanning for weapons or boarding ports. Suddenly, the small ship fired a quick pulse toward the Aurora's Path. It struck the shields, causing a sharp flicker, but no breach. Mira activated the ship's countermeasures. A burst of electromagnetic waves that confused the attackers' targeting systems. The small ship veered off, but then reappeared from another angle. The fight had begun again. Inside the control room, Mira's fingers flew across the console. She rerouted power to the shield generators and prepared the defense drones stored in the ships. Bays. The drones launched with a soft hum. They were small but equipped with advanced sensors and non-lethal stunners. Designed to disable boarding craft without destroying them, the small alien ship darted closer. Weaving through the drones, Mira activated a magnetic pulse to disrupt the attacker's propulsion. The ship jolted, but did not stop. The AI alerted her, warning. Boarding clamps detected on starboard hull. Mira's eyes widened. The enemy was trying to latch on again. Deploy emergency lockdown, she ordered. The ship sealed all external airlocks immediately, inside the Aurora's path. The corridors shifted once more. The ship's interior became a confusing maze. Again, the AI set traps in critical areas to catch any intruders outside. The small alien ship's boarding clamps engaged with a grinding noise. The hull shook slightly. "Prepare for boarding," Mira said quietly. Seconds later, the ship's sensors detected multiple intruders entering the airlocks. They moved quickly and silently. The corridors were dark except for the soft red glow of emergency lights. Mira knew this battle would be different. The small alien craft had not come to capture cargo or disable systems. It wanted her ship and her. The first intruder appeared on the corridor cameras. They were smaller than the earlier aliens. With sleek armor and fast movements, their weapons glowed. With a soft blue light, Mira's heart pounded. This was no simple fight. It was a test of will, strength, and cleverness. She activated the defense drones inside the corridors. The drones flew forward, buzzing softly but ready to stun. The intruders moved quickly, dodging and weaving through the corridors. The ship's walls shifted to block their path, but the aliens adapted fast. Mira controlled the ship's environment carefully. Gravity shifted to unbalance the attackers. Sudden bursts of sound echoed in the halls. The temperature dropped sharply in some sections, making it harder to move. Despite all this, the aliens pressed forward. In the control room, Mira felt a sharp pain in her side. She touched it and found a small bruise. The struggle was wearing her down, but she refused to give up. AI, activate emergency power to shields and weapon systems, she said firmly. The ship's defenses brightened. Hidden turrets appeared from the walls, firing non-lethal energy pulses to stun and disable intruders. One intruder was caught in the blast, collapsing to the floor stunned. Others paused, reassessing their attack. Mira took a deep breath. She had won the first battle, escaped the alien cruiser. Now she faced a new enemy, faster, smarter, and more dangerous. But she was human, and humans survived. Captain Mira leaned forward, eyes sharp on the glowing screens. The alien intruders were moving fast through the Aurora's path. Their glowing weapons cut through the shadows of the twisting corridors. Her ship was alive and fighting for her. Walls shifted and floors tilted, trying to slow down the invaders. Defense drones buzzed through the halls, zapping with non-lethal pulses. The ship's environment changed constantly. Gravity shifted, lights flickered, and temperature dropped, all to confuse the attackers. Still, the aliens pressed on, adapting quickly. Mira's heart raced. She had won battles before, but this felt different. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a signal, a small ship approaching fast, different from the others. The object was sleek and moved with purpose. Mira's eyes narrowed. Was it a new enemy or help? The AI announced. Unknown vessel requesting docking permission. Signal identifies as neutral. Mira hesitated but quickly opened a channel. This is Captain Mira of the Aurora's path. Identify yourself. The reply was calm and clear. I'm Commander Raoul from the Alliance fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to assist. Relief washed over Mira, but she stayed cautious. We are under attack. Boarding parties are inside the ship. We will dock and send a boarding team immediately, Raoul said. Mira activated the docking protocols. The new ship gently attached to the Aurora's path, and soon after, a group of heavily armored soldiers entered. The Alliance soldiers moved with confidence and skill. They quickly joined the fight, helping to flush out the remaining intruders. The defense drones worked with them seamlessly, stunning enemies and forcing them back. The corridors echoed with the sounds of the battle, a clash of weapons, the hum of energy pulses, and the ship's shifting walls. Mira watched the battle from the control room, her tension easing. The Alliance was strong and experienced. Together, they stood a better chance. Raoul's voice came over the comms. We are clearing the ship section by section. Prepare for a full sweep. The AI reported. Hostile presence detected in engineering and cargo bay. Mira nodded. We cannot let them take control of those areas. The ship's core is there. The boarding parties pushed forward, fighting hard. The aliens, now fewer in number, became desperate. They tried to set traps and block the doors behind them, but the combined force was relentless. The shifting corridors worked in their favor, cutting off escape routes, and engineering. A fierce fight erupted. One alien tried to sabotage the main engine controls, but an Alliance soldier stopped him just in time. "Captain, we have the engine room secure," Rao reported. Mira allowed herself a small smile. The ship was safe again for now. After hours of fighting, the last intruder was stunned and captured. The corridors grew quiet except for the soft hum of the ship. Mira looked at Rao and said, "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened without you." Rao shook his head. "We all depend on each other in times like these. The aliens are more organized than we thought. They will not stop." Mira nodded, her mind already planning. "Then we must prepare. We cannot let our guard down." The Alliance soldiers began repairing the damage and reinforcing the ship's defenses. The AI worked quickly to reset the environmental traps. Mira turned back to the stars. The fight had shown her that humans were strong, but strength alone was not enough. It was unity, courage, and quick thinking that would keep them alive. Her ship was small, but it was a symbol of resistance and hope. Outside, the stars waited silently. The battle was far from over, but Captain Mira was ready to face whatever came next with allies by her side. The Aurora's path floated calmly now, far from the danger of the alien cruiser and the smaller boarding ships. Captain Mira stood at the front window of the control room, watching the endless stars. The quiet felt strange after so many hours of fighting and chaos. Commander Rao and his Alliance soldiers moved through the ship, helping with repairs and checking systems. The ship was damaged but still strong. The crew had worked hard, and the AI had been tireless. Mira felt a deep sense of pride. Against all odds, her small ship had survived. The aliens had thought the lone human freighter was easy prey. They were wrong. Her thoughts turned to the future. This battle was not just about survival, it was a sign. A sign that humans were more than just simple travelers. They were fighters, survivors, and sometimes heroes. The AI's soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, the ship is secure. Repairs are 90% complete. All systems functioning within normal parameters." Mira smiled. "Good work. Prepare a message for the Alliance fleet. We need to warn others about the alien threat." The AI responded, message prepared and ready for transmission. Mira activated the long-range communicator. Her voice was steady but urgent. "This is Captain Mira of the Aurora's path. We have survived an attack from an unknown alien force. They are dangerous and organized. All Alliance ships must be on alert and ready to defend." She paused, then added, "We will not back down. Humans never do." The message was sent. A call to arms across the stars. Later, Mira gathered with Commander Rao and some of the soldiers in the small mess hall. The room was quiet, the weight of what had happened settling on everyone. Ral spoke first. "Your ship is impressive, Captain. The AI and your quick thinking saved us all." Mira shook her head. "It was the courage of every person here, and the strength to never give up." One soldier nodded. "The aliens underestimated humans. That was their mistake." Mira smiled. "Yes, and it is a mistake they will not make again." The days passed as repairs continued and the crew rested. Mira took time to learn from the Alliance soldiers. Their training, their technology, and their knowledge of the galaxy were valuable. In return, she shared stories of human resilience and determination. The alliance between humans and the fleet grew stronger. One evening, Mira stood alone on the observation deck, looking at the distant stars. She knew the journey ahead would be hard. The aliens would return, and the galaxy was full of unknown dangers. But she also knew something else. Humans had survived against all odds. They had adapted, fought, and thrived. Their spirit was unbreakable. As the stars shone brightly, Captain Mira whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." The Aurora's path moved forward, carrying hope, courage, and the promise of a new future.